Shalom and welcome to Questions and Answers with RabbiEricT. Today's question comes from Jonathan, and his question is concerning what seems to be a contradiction between the Torah and the Brit Chadashah, or the New Covenant writings. This contradiction comes from Genesis chapter 46, also Exodus 1 and Deuteronomy 10. All three verses, when talking about how many Israelites or how many of the descendants of Jacob go into Egypt, use the number 70 to describe how many are. But when we get to the book of Acts and Stephen is sharing his testimony, he uses the number 75. So the question is, which is right, the Jewish counting from the Torah or the Christian counting from the New Covenant? Well, let me answer that the truth is that that's not really a good question, because the reason Stephen uses the word number 75 is because he's quoting from the Septuagint, which uses the number 75. So the question is, which is accurate, the Hebrew translation of the Torah or the Greek translation of the Torah? And the Greek translation of the Torah is what's quoted by Stephen in the New Testament. So the answer to the question is they're both accurate. The Hebrew translation uses the number 70, leaving out Jacob, his daughters-in-law, and a couple other members of his family. And there's argument about which members of the family that is among the rabbis in coming up with the 75. It starts out with 66, and then we get to 70 in the verses in Exodus, in Deuteronomy, and in Genesis. And then when we get to the Septuagint, it translates it this: Genesis 46, 26 through 27. All those who went to Egypt with Jacob, those who were his direct descendants, not counting his sons' wives, numbered 66 persons. With the 9 sons who had been born to Joseph in Egypt, the members of Jacob's family which went into Egypt were 75 in all. Now remember that Jacob adopts 2 of Joseph's children. Those adopted children and their wives actually become counted as if they entered into Egypt, because they're no longer considered Joseph's sons, but they're considered Jacob's sons, and therefore counted as if they entered in with Jacob, not entered in with Joseph. And then in Exodus 1, it says the descendants of Jacob numbered 75 in all. Joseph was already in Egypt. So when we look at the count, it's not a question of is the Christian Bible right versus is the Jewish Bible right, but is the Hebrew right versus the Greek? And the truth is they're both right. They just use a different reckoning or counting by including family members in the Greek count that are not counted in the Hebrew count in the same way. I hope this answers your question. If it does, I hope you'll share it with other people, because the truth is there are no discrepancies between the writings in the New Testament and the writings in the Torah. If there seems to be something that doesn't match up, it's because we're not understanding it the way it should be understood. And the Torah, the Hebrew, is what starts out as our platform, and then we have to figure out why the Greek would make it different. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this has been a blessing. If it is, I hope you'll share it with others. And if you have a question, I hope you'll email me at RabbiEricT@britom.org. And if you haven't already done so, that you'll subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you'll know when the next video comes out. Thank you again, and shalom.